So for my project, I did the Ngorongoro Conservation Area in Tanzania, which I'll now refer to as the NCA. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, not a different galaxy, but still a pretty long time ago. There's been evidence of pastoralism dating back thousands of years in the area that's now the NCA. The Maasai people overtook most of the other pastoral tribes about roughly 200 years ago. In 1951, the NCA, or the area that is now the NCA, was included in the original Serengeti National Park. However, in 1956, there was a proposal to move the Maasai people out of the Serengeti National Park and into their own sectioned off area. That's what became the NCA in 1959, and it was established as a multiple land use area, with goals of protecting the natural resources, the interests of the natives, and promoting tourism. In 1975, the Conservation Area Authority, which is the governing management body of the site, was established, and then in 1979, it was added to UNESCO World Heritage List. The Maasai people weren't technically forced off their land as they were offered compensation, but they've never seen the full realization of that compensation. Some general facts. The site is located to the southeast of Serengeti National Park. It has a lot of different landscape forms, including volcanoes and craters. All of the African Big Five can be seen here, along with over 500 species of birds. There's two main archaeological sites in which lots of research on human evolution has been done, and the IUCN category is 6, protected area with sustainable use of natural resources. The Ngorongoro crater is the highlight of the site. Oh my bad, that's the Death Star. There it is, much prettier. Some direct threats to the park include urban expansion, illegal activities such as poaching, both commercial and subsistence, overgrazing of the livestock by the Maasai people as their population has increased, insufficient funding, introduction of invasive species, fire, specifically hot burns that happen during the dry season, and disease transmission. The focused direct threat here is on-site infrastructure and tourism development, as both the land use decisions have changed over time and the human population has grown, both that of the pastoral tribes inside the park and of tourist visitors. This graphic shows how the land use has changed over time. The first planning tool is management zones. In 2019, 4 new management zones were formed. However, all human settlement and development were just limited to 18% of the total area. So this is definitely not the most effective planning tool because the relations with the pastoral tribes has decreased significantly because of this. And it also establishes some hard edges. Here's a quote from one of the tribe leaders. "The land cited for development, despite its size, does not have a single water stream and is not suitable for pastoralism. If this plan is to prevail, cows will perish in the NCA before 2038, and it will mark the end of the Maasai community in the famous World Heritage Site." The second planning tool, which is much more effective, is the environmental impact assessment. There's only 6 lodges within the Ngorongoro Conservation Area, and 4 of them are located around the crater. Any additional lodge that they want to add has to undergo an environmental impact assessment, and current lodges have to keep up with the standards that have been set by management. A recent proposal for an additional lodge was also just denied. So this is a much more effective tactic for managing just the infrastructure that gets developed in the park, and yeah. The third planning tool is managing visitors. So this one also has to go along with just the general population and just the footprint that happens within the park. The NCA is one of the most visited PAs in Africa and had almost 600,000 visitors in 2011. The crater is the most visited site, but it actually only accounts for 5% of the whole conservation area, so it can get very, very crowded. So one of the most effective things that they've done is put limits on how many vehicles can be inside the crater at a time, access fees, timed visitation, and all visitors have to be accompanied by a guide. So one of the principles that I think really goes along with this site is that threats to protected areas are inevitable. So this population growth is inevitable, and also just like clashes between the different groups are inevitable. The NCA faces unique challenges because it's a multiple land use area. So they have the pastoral people living in the area, they have the management bodies, they have the government, they have all these different parties that they have to manage. So they did create something that's called the Ngorongoro Pastoral Council, which is pictured down here, and it's kind of to give more of a voice to the pastoral people. The second principle is threatening processes will be diminished when protected areas are managed as part of a community effort to achieve conservation outcomes at a landscape level. So this one is really important for the great migration that happens every year. Wildebeest come up from the NCA area around the Ndutu Lake, and they go up all the way through the Serengeti into Kenya, and then they come back down depending on like the rain season. One of the threats to this is climate change, as the seasons are becoming unpredictable. Here's a map of the migration. So the connectivity between the parks is super, super important here, so it doesn't disrupt the migration cycle. The last principle is effective community education. Sorry, this got really, really loud. Sorry about that. The third principle is that effective community education may help to reduce threats to protected areas. They've established what's called cultural bomas, which is like a fake settlement sort of, and it's an educational opportunity for tourists to get an inside view of like what the pastoral villages look like, so that they can understand the importance of the culture to these areas, and it helps give tourist dollars back in the hands of the Maasai. Here's some more pictures of the Maasai people, and here's my works cited.